Nice and no see ya. Wake up. Oh.
What?
What's
What?
on your face?
What? What do you mean what's on my face?
What? There's
Who
a
did
blue
it? Did you do that?
mustache on your face.
Blue? Did you draw on my face? Blue drew on my face.
Bad
You're a
dog.
bad dog. No. My face, my beautiful face. I can't believe you would draw on my face while sleeping. You in trouble. All right, let's focus on learning. Ooh, you want to learn about form? Ooh, that's a fancy element of art. I think you are right. Let's do it. Our next element of art is form. Yay! Form is a three-dimensional figure. Interesting stuff. So let's talk about three-dimensional objects. All right, if I break down the dimensions, one-dimensional, an object would basically be represented with a line. They just have length. Two-dimensional objects have length and width, and three-dimensional objects have length, width, and depth. Here are some basic forms that you see pretty often. You have a cube, a rectangular prism, a sphere, a cone, and a cylinder. So this week we are going to be practicing how to draw some of these basic forms. For this practice, you will need 2 pieces of paper and something to draw with, which would mean a pencil, a marker, crayons, just something that you can draw with. Okay, I have all my things. My paper is the landscape orientation. We are practicing. So I'm going to write basic forms at the top. Alright, so guys, since we were practicing, remember, this is not supposed to be perfect. We're just starting to explore these different forms. So I'm going to start on the left side of my paper with a line that is straight. Okay, so I've drawn a straight line. It's not taking up too much space. Then I'm going to add a new line at the bottom of it that turns. And another line that comes up. And one last line that's going to go over the top. And to help me out, I rotate my paper because it makes it way easier for me to draw. So I have my fourth, I can count, line. Okay, so that's supposed to be a cube, and it's not a cube. It's more like a square right now. So it's two-dimensional. So I'm going to go to the corner, and I'm going to draw a diagonal line that goes back. So I've drawn a diagonal line. Now if I turn it, it kind of looks like a kite. Okay, maybe it's a kite that's going towards the ground right now. I'm going to go to the bottom corner, and I'm going to try to draw that same line lengthwise and angle. Okay, diagonal. Okay, so I'm trying to keep those 2 lines parallel, the 2 new lines that I've just added. Remember, parallel runs side by side. Okay, so we're not using a ruler, so it's not going to be perfect, but they should be going back. Then in my third corner, I'm going to draw another diagonal line. So I have 3 diagonals. Then I'm going to add a new line in the back connecting those 2. And then I'm going to turn my paper and connect those 2. And ta-da! I've got a cube. It's not perfect because I don't have a ruler, but it will do. Cube! Yay! I could draw a cube this way too, where I just draw a square. And that's not a technical square because those sides aren't all even, but we'll count it. And then I do another square where it's just overlapping. Starts a little high, doesn't end halfway, a little bit lower than half. Comes over, and up, and across. 2 squares. And then if I just connect all the corners, then it's like I have a see-through cube. Ooh, cube, so fancy. Alright, so those are 2 different ways you can be drawing a cube, and we could get all technical and add 1-point perspective to the mix, but we're going to keep it simple, okay? So just getting those basic forms practiced. Alright, so I'm going to draw a right cube underneath this one, and next let's try out a rectangular prism. So I start with a basic rectangle, and I do the same things that I did to the other cube, the first one I drew. I'm going to draw diagonal lines going from the corners, and then I'm going to connect them. Okay, so that would be a rectangular prism. So we have length, width, and depth showing. That would be three-dimensional. All right, let's see what other basic forms we can draw. I'm going to do a cylinder next. So I'm going to start with an oval. And my oval is definitely not perfect. But from the edge of the ovals, I'm going to draw a straight line. The top is curved, so the bottom would be curved too. So if you were going into your pantry and you found some cans, those are ovals. And that would be a cylinder. They're rounded. Yay. Alright, let's go for a cone now. So basically I start out drawing a triangle. And at the bottom, instead of making it flat, a straight line, I'm going to add another oval. So I have an oval at the bottom of my pyramid, my triangle I mean, and that's a cone. If I flip it the other direction, it would look like an ice cream cone. Alright, and then next let's try to draw a pyramid. So I draw three lines, connect them at the bottom, and a pyramid. Pyramid. Alright, and last let's try a sphere. Okay, spheres, when I draw it, we have a problem. Oh no, it just looks like a circle. That's a sphere. Wait, how do I tell the difference between a sphere and a circle? Well, I need to add some sort of shading. I need to have some sort of value present. So I'm going to grab a pencil. You could do this with anything. You can do it with crayons or colored pencils. But I'm going to add different tones to make it look more like a sphere. So you see that I am coloring with my pencil. And I'm going to try to push down at the bottom side of the sphere to make it dark. And technically every one of these forms would have value. So it would have some form of shading to make it look three-dimensional. So the typical characteristics of a three-dimensional object is that it creates shadows here and there. Your tones change throughout the object. Okay, so now I've added some shading here and there into my sphere. And now it looks a lot more like a sphere. Hooray. I would even add a shadow if I really wanted to go even farther with that. Sphere, sphere, sphere. S-P-H-E-R-E. Sphere. Okay. So these are some of my basic forms. Now I need to get my next piece of paper to start the next part. Alright, here we go. Next piece of paper. We're gonna start the next part. Alright guys, we're gonna be drawing a house. Okay? And I'm gonna start you off, but you do have freedom. So I'm gonna go to the middle of my paper, scooch to the side, and I am going to be drawing a straight line going down. Okay? It's not super long, but it definitely has some length to it. From the bottom, I'm going to turn and draw a straight line across. My line got a little wobbly in there, so I'm going to fix it by making it a bit more bold. And then, I always like to turn my paper. It helps me out when I'm drawing a third straight line. And before completing it, I'm not going to add a fourth straight line. I'm actually going to float to the middle and draw two diagonal lines. So my basic house shape. But it's two-dimensional. Oh no! We want to make it three-dimensional. So I'm going to go to the bottom right corner and I'm going to draw a diagonal line that goes back. Okay, diagonal. I'm going to go up to the next corner and I'm going to draw that same diagonal line. Diagonal. Again, we're not using a ruler, so make it work. And from those two diagonals, I'm going to make a straight line that connects them. There we go. So my lines aren't perfectly parallel, but they will do for now. And I'm going to go to the top of my roof line and make that same diagonal. Once I have that, it's going to come down to connect to my other line. And woo, I've got my basic house shape. So you guys can actually add what you want to your house. You can add lots of doors and windows. You can make it a rainbow house. You can go to town on your house. But we really wanted to focus on making it a form. So we're just practicing turning things into three-dimensional forms. Here I am making my house, my roof line a little darker. I like my lines to be nice and thick. And again, you can do whatever you want to this house. Go to town. You might want to keep it simple and make basic doors and windows. One thing I want you to do, though, is keep proportion in mind. Here I am adding the ground. The ground is about halfway through my house, not perfectly at the bottom. So when I am talking about proportion, I mean like the door shouldn't be taking up the entire front of the house, unless you want to make a doghouse for Blue, which is also an option. It would probably be a pretty cool option. What do you think, Blue? He nodded. He thinks it's a good option. So anyways, I drew a little door, and maybe I'll add some windows over here. And the hard part about making windows and doors on a house that is a form is you want things to be parallel. So if you don't know what that means, it means two lines are running side by side and they will never cross. So that's a math term. Woo, math! Alright. Okay, so I'm going to be done talking here, and I'm going to let you go crazy with your house. I'm excited to see these houses. Like I said earlier, it could be Blue's doghouse you're designing here. But you have complete creative power here. Design your fancy house. Maybe it's your dream house. Ooh, that would be fancy. Okay, so have fun designing your houses. Make sure you color them. And remember craftsmanship. We want to be taking our time while coloring. So the faster you go, the yuckier it looks. So slow, 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 slow. Okay, make sure when you're done with your houses, you take a picture and you send them to me on Seesaw so that I can see your beautiful houses. Okay, and go.